Hello everyone, in this demo we are going to see what is method overriding. Now before we proceed for method overriding, let us implement all the things that we have learned till now in inheritance. Now say for example I have a class called as student. I have grabbed the code, just I'll paste it. Now say I have a class called as student and I am declaring all the fields as protected. Why? Because I want to inherit this class in future. I may have a situation where I need to inherit the class in future. So I have student ID, student name and standard, in what class the student is studying. Now to initialize this thing, I have a constructor as usual we have learned earlier. I'll be passing student ID, student name and the standard in which the student is studying. I have declared the standard as string. Now say the student has got three subjects: maths, science and social, and the marks of these three subjects I need to assign. So I'll be using the properties that we have learned in our earlier videos. I have the property for maths, that is underscore maths, for science underscore science, for social underscore social. I have a method get details which displays the student ID, student name and the standard, and a method get average which displays the average. So this is my simple class that I have implemented, and I got the code here ready. So now I will be creating the object of this class. To create the object of this class, just I need to write the student s equals new student, and I need to pass three parameters. The student ID is 124, student name is say Peter, and the standard say 10th. Now I'll say s dot maths. I'll be setting the marks for maths. Say in maths he got 67 marks. S dot science. Say in science he got 78 marks, and I'll say s dot social. In social say he got 66 marks. Now I'll say s dot get details. I want to display the details. Then I'll say s dot get average as well. So this is my simple class with two methods and three properties, and I'm not doing any extra things in this. This is my regular class that we did in our earlier videos. I'm executing this, so it should display me the details. The student ID, student name, standard and average is 70.333. I can round the result. I can use math.round. I have a math class that we have seen earlier. I'll say this maths is a variable, don't get confused. I am using maths is a variable, whereas math is a predefined class. I'll say math.round, and I want to round it to say 2 decimals. I'll execute this. I need to put one more bracket over here. Say I got the result. Now this is my simple class that we did even earlier. Now I have a requirement where, say for example, I have given this application to school XYZ, and their requirement was of three subjects: math, science and social. Now even one more school, say PQR, is asking for the same class, but they have two requirements extra in this. Like they want even to have one more subject, say English, and they want them to maintain the contact number as well, and they want to implement one more functionality. Say they want to display the division as well. Like they have three extra requirements. One, they want to include one more field, say the field is contact number, and they want to add one more subject, say the subject name is English, and they want to have one more method or one more functionality, that is get division. Depending upon the average, they should get the division. Fine. That means what is that I want? I want all the things which is present in this student class plus 3 extra things. That means I want to extend the functionality of an existing class. Whenever I have a situation where I need to extend the functionality of an existing class, I should go for inheritance. So now I'll be inheriting this class into a new class. Now what I want, if I add the same method in this class, then some XYZ school, they do not need division, and they do not need English subject, so they'll be getting these things unnecessarily. So that is not the requirement. So what I want, I don't want to disturb the existing application or existing objects that you have created for the class, existing things. What I want to create a new class from the existing class. So I'll be creating a new class, I'll say new student, which inherits the student class. Once I go for inheritance, all the public and protected members of this class will get inherited into this. Now the extra field that I want here, see, it means that I have got these 3 fields automatically: SID, SNAME and standard. I want one more extra field. Again I will say that protected string contact. Now I'll copy the constructor. I'll just have a constructor, say new student. Now here I'll say comma string contact. Now if you observe here, I have this dot. Now I can access the fields like student ID I got from the base class, student name I got from the base class, student standard I got from the base class, social, math, science, all these fields I got from the base class. Even though I do not have in this class, it displays all these fields, it gives access to this field because I am going for inheritance. Now I will say this dot contact equals to contact. Now if you see that there is a red line over here, now what it says, there is an error. In our earlier video we have seen it is the responsibility of a derived class constructor to invoke its base class default constructor. So it says that the base class does not contain a constructor that takes 0 argument. It says that there is no default constructor here. So what I will do, simply I will write a default constructor public student, and I am not going to implement anything. Why? Because whenever I am going to invoke this constructor, it is going to in turn invoke this default constructor. Now see, when I do not have any constructor in the class, then I need not to write even default constructor, it will take automatically. Whenever I have a constructor with parameter, then it is must for me to write default constructor. Now I got the constructor for this class, so one requirement got fulfilled. Now the next requirement, they need one more variable or one more subject. That subject, say already we have math, science, social, they also need English. I'll say protected double English. Now I need to write a property for this. I'll simply copy this, just paste it over here. I'll name the property as underscore English. Say English, even English here. Save this. Now 2 requirements I have fulfilled. Now the last requirement is nothing but a method public void, I'll say get division. Get division. Now in get division, what is that I need to do? I need to calculate the average first. Now depending upon the average, I'll calculate the division. Now I'll say double AVG average. equals to maths plus science plus social plus English by 4.0 typecasting. Now I'll just have three cases in this. If average is less than 35, I'll simply write console.writeLine. I'll just display fail. Else if average is less than 60, then I'll simply say pass. Else if the average is less than 70, I'll say console.writeLine passed in first division. Now you might be getting confused that the average is less than 70, how then the passed in first division? Say if the average is 25, it is less than 70, then is it going to display passed in first division? No. See that if the average is 25, now this condition will stop it here, 25 less than 35, so it displays fail. If the average is 45, even though it is less than 70, but this part of if condition will not allow the control to come here, it will stop it here itself. If it is average is 45, it checks 45 less than 35, no. 45 less than 60, yeah, it will just display pass. If the average is 65, then it will check 65 less than 35, no. 65 less than 60, no. 65 less than 70, true, it will display passed in first division. Else if average is less than or equals to 100, I'll just display console.writeLine passed in distinction. That's it. I got get division 2. I'll simply save this. Now what I want is, I want to create the object of class new student. So I'll just come down here, I'll create the class new student class. I'll just say ns equals to new student, new equals to new student. Now I need to pass student ID, name, standard and contact number. 4 things I need to pass. Student ID 125, name Tom, standard say 9th, and contact number say 010101. Fine, I have created the object of this class. Now I can access all the methods. I'll say ns dot, first of all let me set the marks. Ns dot English marks is 77, new student. Ns dot maths marks is 89. Ns dot science math marks is 55. Ns dot social marks is 98. Now I'll say ns dot get details. See, like get detail is a public method that I got from my parent class, so it is going to display the get details method. I'll just execute this. I want details, that's it. Tom details I need. Okay, if you observe in Tom detail, it is displaying student ID, student name and standard. It is not at all displaying me the contact number. It is not at all displaying me the contact number. Why? Because in my new class I do not have get details method. It is using the get detail methods of my parent class. If I put a breakpoint, you'll get to know about this thing. I'll just say F5, F11. It is going to jump to my root class or base class, and it is going to display these three things. Now what I can do, I can have a get details method in my derived class too. I can write get details method one more time here. I'll say public void get details, public void get details. Now here in this get details method, I'll simply have all these details plus one more line of code, console.write line, that is nothing but contact. Now if you observe my base class and derived class, in base class I have get details method, in derived class I have get detail method. No parameters here, no parameters here. Return type is void, return type is void. This is public. Now this complete thing is called as signature of a method. Method name, return type, parameter list. This complete thing is called as signature of the method. Signature of the method in base class is same as signature of the method in derived class, or I can say the signature of the method in derived class is same as signature of the method in base class, but the implementation is different. Here I have one more extra line of code, whereas here I have only 3 lines of code. That means implementations are different. Now whenever I have a method with same signature in the derived class as that of the in base class with different implementation, then I say that the method of derived class overrides the method of base class. It means whenever I am if I am calling get details, it is going to execute this method. It is not at all going to execute the base class method. This concept is nothing but method overriding. So what is method overriding? If in a derived class I have a method with same name and same parameter and same return type, that means if in a derived class I have a method with same signature as that of the base class, if in a derived class I have a method with same signature as that of the base class but different implementations, then I say that the method of the derived class overrides the method of the base class, and the complete process is called as method overriding. Fine. Now one more thing that we need to see here, if I am calling get average method, so here the get average method is calculating the average of 3 subjects, whereas here what I want, if I say average, it should calculate the average of 4 subjects. So I need to re-implement the same method, public void get avg, get average. I will be re-implementing get average method. That means I am again overriding the get average method. I am overriding even get average method. I will just copy this, I will paste it here. Now in this I will say plus English and divide by 4. So I have overridden even the get average method. You see that a method in the derived class has the same signature as that of the base class, but the implementation is different with different implementation. This process is called as method overriding. But one thing you need to take care whenever you are overriding a method, whenever you want to override a method, you need to declare the method of the base class as virtual and method of the derived class as override. Method of the base class as virtual, public virtual, and method of the derived class as override. So override is a keyword which is used to override a method of the base class which is declared with the keyword virtual. Now you see that I have kept a breakpoint over here. I'll just execute this. Now it is not at all going to execute the method of base class, it is going to execute the method of derived class only. Fine. Now let me even call get average and the extra functionality. Now s dot get average and the extra functionality ns dot get division. Now let me execute this. It should display me all the details. Average is 79.75% passed in distinction. So I have successfully used the feature of inheritance and I have implemented a new class student. But one more thing, if you observe, I'll just put a breakpoint over here, F11, F5, F11. Now whenever I'm creating the object, constructor gets invoked. Now it is the responsibility of derived class constructor to invoke its base class constructor. So it is going to jump to the default constructor and it will execute this thing. This is the feature that we have already seen in our earlier video. Now what I want to use this feature. As I told you in our earlier video, we will see the implementation, we will see the use of this, use of constructor chaining concept. If you observe, I am initializing 3 variables here and the same code is getting repeated over here. What I will do, I will just comment out this code. I don't want to re-implement or rewrite the code that I have written here. I want to use this code. That means from this constructor of derived class, I want to call the constructor of base class with 3 parameters. So I can do this with base keyword that we saw in our earlier video. I'll say base. Now I'll pass 3 parameters up. Those are nothing but SID I'll pass, name I will pass, and standard I'll pass. So that this 3 variable will get initialized over here. So in this way I can use the concept of constructor chaining. Now let me put a breakpoint here as well as here. Now here it is going to invoke the constructor of the class student direct. There is no concept of inheritance over here. Now just say F5 to come to this. Now if you observe from here, it is going to invoke the constructor of new student class. Now it has got 4 parameters: student ID, student name, standard, and contact. Now these 3 variables or 3 fields, ID, name, and standard, I am passing it up to this constructor. So my control will jump from here to the constructor of base class with 3 parameters. Why? Because I am passing 3 parameters. So F11. Now you see that it has carried the 3 values: student ID, student name, and standard, and it is initializing 3 variables here, and left out variable it initializes here and it comes back. Now I'll say F5. It is working in the same sense. So I have reduced the code by using the concept of constructor chaining. So this is the use of base keyword. Now one more thing, if you observe this get details method in the derived class, you have these 3 lines of code same as that you have in your base class. So what is that I can do? Instead of me writing these 3 lines of code again and again, I can simply call this base class method from here. So how do I call the base class method? I'll say base dot get details. So these 3 things it is going to execute from there, and the left out part it is going to execute it from here. I'll just remove this breakpoint. I'll just put a breakpoint here, get details. Now I'll press F5. From here my control will jump to the get details method of new student class. Now from here I am calling the get details method of my base class. So it is going to execute this. Now it comes back and it executes the left out part over here and comes back. So here we have seen the two uses of base keyword. In the similar way that we saw the two uses of this keyword, in the same sense we have two uses of base keyword. One use is to invoke the constructor of base class from the derived class, and another use is to call or to refer to the members of base class. As we were using this keyword to refer to the members of current class, in the same way we are using base keyword to refer to the members of base class. So here we are utilizing the base keyword and the inheritance concept and the constructor chaining concept, and all these things we have implemented in this example. Hope you might have enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.